Yes, good evening to all. Welcome to this Wednesday's Dhamma reading session. Today we will be reading from Bhante Vimalaramsi's transcript on MN10, the Foundations of Mindfulness, Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta. Before start of the session, we pay homage to the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. You can recite along with me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham Dhammam Sangam Namasami. Yes. As I said, we will be reading from, I will be sharing this, we will be reading from Bhante Vimalaramsi's transcript. We are reading part 1 of now. Yes. Yes, Nanda madam, you can start reading.
Majjhima Nikāya 10, The Foundations of Mindfulness, Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta, presented by Bhante Vimalaramsi on 21st of February 2006 at Dhamma Dena Vipassanā Center, Joshua Tree, California. Bhante Vimalaramsi. Okay, the sutta tonight is the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta, the Foundations of Mindfulness, Majjhima Nikāya. Thus have I heard, on one occasion, the Blessed One was living in the Kuru country, where there was a town of the Kurus named Kamasadhamma. There he addressed the monks thus, "Monks, Venerable Sir," they replied. The Blessed One said this, "Monks, this is the direct path for the purification of beings, for the surmounting of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and grief, for the attainment of the true way, for the realization of Nibbāna, namely the four foundations of mindfulness." What are the four? Here, monks, a monk abides contemplating the body as body, ardent, fully aware, and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. He abides contemplating feelings as feeling. Bhante Vimalaramsi. This translation says feelings as feelings, but we got to take the S off of that because it's a way too misunderstood. So we want to say feeling as feeling. Majjhima Nikāya. Ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. He abides contemplating mind as mind, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. He abides contemplating mind objects as mind objects, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. Bhante Vimalaramsi. Now, the first part is the contemplation of the body, and it starts out with mindfulness of breathing. Now, an interesting thing is that the instructions of mindfulness of breathing are exactly word for word letter for letter, the same here as it is in the Anapanasati Sutta, the Kaya Gata Sati, Mindfulness of Body Sutta, and Sutta number 62, Majjhima Nikāya 62, where the Buddha gives instructions in mindfulness of breathing. So these instructions are pretty much standardized through all of the different kinds of meditation. Majjhima Nikāya. And how does a monk abide contemplating the body as a body? Here a monk gone to the forest or to the root of a tree or to an empty hut sits down, having folded his legs crosswise, set his body erect and established mindfulness in front of him. Ever mindful, he breathes in, mindful, he breathes out. Breathing in long, he understands. I breathe in long. Or breathing out long, he understands. I breathe out long. Breathing in short, he understands. I breathe in short. Or breathing out short, he understands. I breathe out short. Bhante Vimalaramsi. The key word to this part of the instruction is he understands. He knows when he's taking a long breath and when it's short. He knows when the breath is very fine and when it's coarse. He knows when it's subtle and when it's not. He understands. He doesn't say he focuses on, he doesn't say he puts his strong attention only on the breath. It says he understands the breath. And again, you want to notice that it doesn't say nostril tip, nostril, upper lip, or abdomen, or any combination of those. You just understand what the breath is doing in the present moment. Now, Majjhima Nikāya, he trains thus, Bhante Vimalaramsi. These are key words because this is the actual instruction in the meditation itself. Majjhima Nikāya. I shall breathe in experiencing the whole body. Bhante Vimalaramsi. In the first edition of the Middle Length says, Bhikkhu Bodhi, I talked to him about this. He was obliged to put in brackets of breath behind experiencing the whole body. That was when Nyanaponika was still alive, and Nyanaponika was Bhikkhu Bodhi's teacher, so he felt obliged to put that in. After Nyanaponika died, he came out with a second edition, and he took of breath out because it's misleading. It makes you, if you put of breath behind experiencing the entire body, it implies that you're focusing very deeply just on the breath to the exclusion of everything else, which is a form of absorption concentration. But you'll see in a moment that this is not the case. So when he came out with the second edition, he took that out in every place except the mindfulness of breathing sutta. He forgot to take it out in that one, but he took it out everywhere else. Majjhima Nikāya. He trains thus, I shall breathe out, experiencing the whole body. He trains thus, I shall breathe in, tranquilizing the bodily formation. He trains thus, I shall breathe out, tranquilizing the bodily formation. Bhante Vimalaramsi. Now, this is the entire instructions in the meditation of how to do mindfulness of breathing. I have had many discussions with many monks who are practicing meditation and teaching meditation, and I say, well, How do you practice mindfulness of breathing? Well, I put my attention on my nostril or upper lip, and I keep my attention there very strongly. Now, that doesn't match the instructions of he trains thus. He trains thus, tranquilizing the bodily formation on the in-breath and tranquilizing the bodily information on the out-breath. They're just taking the breath without the tranquilizing. This last part of the instruction is the very thing that makes the Buddha's meditation different from everybody else's teaching. All of the Brahmins and Hindus of the time, they were doing breath meditation, but they were focusing just on the breath. They didn't put the extra step of tranquilizing the bodily formation. Now, what is tranquilizing the bodily formation mean? Most people, especially in this country, when we talk to them about the body, to them the body is from the neck down and the mind is from the neck up, when in fact the body is from the top of the head all the way down. Now, when it says tranquilize the bodily formation, what it's talking about is there is subtle tensions and tightnesses in your head, in your mind, in your brain. You relax on the in-breath. You feel an opening and a calming. You relax on the out-breath. You feel an opening and a calming, opening and a calming. You are using the breath as the reminder to relax, to tranquilize your bodily formation. Now, this means also that if there's any tension anywhere in your body, if you see that tension, you relax that. Also relaxing this, the head, the subtle tightness that's in your head is also a tightness in your mind. So you are actually tranquilizing both the bodily formation and the mental formation by relaxing. How many times have you heard me say, when there's a distraction, let go of that. Relax, smile, come back to your object of meditation. The more you can relax the tension and tightness that is very subtle in your head, the faster your meditation deepens. And when I've talked to the monks and the other teachers that are teaching mindfulness of breathing, and I come to this statement of tranquilizing the bodily formation on the in-breath and the out-breath, and I say, do you do that? And there's a very blank look. No, we don't do the meditation this way. We follow the Buddha's teaching another way. But this extra step is the key to changing your entire meditation so that it becomes immediately effective. The progress in meditation is so much faster when you follow all of the instructions when you are doing mindfulness of breathing that he gave. Now, I know that a lot of Vipassana people, they say they practice the Mahasi method. And the Mahasi method says that when there's a distraction, you put your attention on that distraction until it goes away and then immediately come back to the breath. They don't have any relaxing in it. If there's no relaxing, then you have things like excess concentration and moment-to-moment concentration. When you have this kind of one-pointed concentration, when your concentration gets deep enough, the force of the concentration pushes down the hindrances so they don't arise. And they call that purifying the mind. And in a way, they're right, but it's not the way that the Buddha taught. It's a little bit different than that. The way the Buddha taught to tranquilize your mind was by letting go of the tension and tightness caused by distraction. How do you let it go? You relax. What are you relaxing? You're relaxing the tension and tightness caused by craving. Craving always manifests as tension and tightness in your mind and in your body. So every time you let go of that tension, especially the tension that's in your head, you'll feel an expansion and your mind takes a little step down and becomes calm. Right after that, you'll notice that there's not any thoughts, but there's real good, strong, pure awareness. And you bring that mind that has no craving because you let it go back to your object of meditation. Now, this is day 3 of the meditation, and some of you are doing incredibly well. That's not a good word. Very, very well. And it makes me very happy that you're following these instructions like you are, because you're starting to progress. You're starting to have happiness and joy arise. You're starting to feel more at ease with the meditation, and you're starting to understand what this is all about. And that comes from following that one extra step of relaxing. I've been to many, many retreats practicing the Mahasi method, and I started noticing after the first 7 or 8 years that it takes about 5 years to really understand what the meditation isn't before you start understanding what the meditation is. But that's not happening with this retreat. You're all starting to understand what the meditation is right now. You don't have to go through the 5-year period that most people do. You're really starting to grasp it. And it makes me incredibly happy to see how well you're all doing. It's hard work, but you're getting it.
You're on mute, Sachin.
Yes, I was muted. Sorry. I was just saying that really we are very thankful to Bhante Vimalaramsi because he has taught this process of extra step of relaxing, which is like making our mind to a calm and happy state. Really, it was very Bantam Ramsey with his own experience after 20 years of absorption meditation practice. He has given this teaching. It's a very long period of 20 years. He has given this practice to our TWIM community, where many people are getting benefited and they're experiencing happiness and calm. Here, Bante is emphasizing on relaxing, particularly in many parts of the sutta. We have tranquilizing the body formations, tranquilizing. The word tranquilizing is generally regarded as relaxation by Bhante Vimalaramsi, where many of the students are not aware of this tranquilizing. And there are examples given here. Bhante used to ask for breath meditation what you do. Uh, they say that they focus very strong on nostrils or the upper lip for breath meditation, which is not in line with the sutta, which is called as tranquilizing the body formations. And even this sutta particularly emphasizes mindfulness, remembers us mind to be mindful all the time. Yes, Nanda madam, would you like to add?
Yes, when I was reading this, it was very clear to me that when I practiced breath meditation and then changed to Metta 6-hour meditation, everything changed as Bhante Vimalaramsi is explaining in this sutta, simply because I was following these instructions and radiating metta to start with, and then relaxing that tension and tightness and pressure and heaviness that I was experiencing in my body and in my mind. And because of that, immediately I was able to experience peace and calmness and relaxation and serenity and tranquility. And then the meditation, the mind just took over, and the 5 hindrances were naturally and automatically was weakening, and my mind was inclined towards the tranquility and the jhanas. As you rightly said, I feel ever so grateful for Bhante Vimalaramsi for noticing and recognizing and identifying that a sentence tranquilizing the bodily formations and tranquilizing the mental formations has a profound transformative effect in my daily meditation.
Yes, thank you, Nanda madam. We will continue reading. I will be reading. So this extra step of tranquilizing the bodily formations, letting go of the tension and tightness means that you are letting go of craving. And what is craving? That is the cause of suffering. And when you let go of that craving and your mind becomes, you feel that expansion and calmness, that pure mind, that is where the cessation of suffering is. And you are bringing that cessation back to your object of meditation. So it's kind of an amazing phenomenon that so many people are so interested in practicing the Buddha's teaching, but they are not following the instructions. This is only 4 lines in the instruction, 4 sentences, but they are not following them exactly. When I first started practicing meditation, it happened to be with the Mahasi method, and I considered myself a dumb American. I didn't know anything. So, whatever the teacher said that I was supposed to do, that's what I did. It took me 20 years to finally go and understand what these instructions were talking about, because I was always following what the teacher said without investigating more deeply on my own. So, I want to encourage you not to believe anything that I am saying. I want you to investigate on your own and see whether this really works or not. And you are starting to do that. Majjhima Nikāya. just as a skilled lathe operator or his apprentice, when making a long turn, understands I make a long turn, or when making a short turn, understands I make a short turn. So too, breathing in long, a monk understands I breathe in long, or breathing out long, he understands I breathe out long. Breathing in short, he understands I breathe in short. Or breathing out short, he understands I breathe out short. He trains thus. I shall breathe in experiencing the whole body. He trains thus. I shall I shall breathe out experiencing the whole body. He trains thus. I shall breathe in tranquilizing the bodily formation. He trains thus. I shall breathe out tranquilizing the bodily formation. As you begin to see when distractions arise in your mind and you let go of the distraction and relax, smile, and come back to your object of meditation, you are beginning to see how mind moves. Mind's attention moves. And with that, you are starting to develop wisdom little by little bit. Now, if you have an active mind, but you see that as soon as you notice, you let go of the distraction, relax, smile, and come back, you are starting to improve your mindfulness. Improving your mindfulness means you are starting to see how mind's attention moves from one thing to another. You know, you are sitting in meditation and your mind is on your object of meditation, breathing or whatever, and all of a sudden you are thinking about what happened yesterday. How did that happen? When I was studying about the 7 factors of enlightenment, I started thinking that there needs to be another one or two added in that. The first thing you have to have curiosity. You have to want to know what happened. How did that work? Not getting involved in why did that work that way, but how did it work? That's the key question that the Buddha was always presenting. How? How does that arise? How does that work? Since coming back to this country, I spent 12 years in Asia, and coming back to this country, there was a lot of talk about stress, and lot of talk about depression, a lot of talk about drugs to overcome the depression and drugs to overcome the stress. When you start looking at how mind's attention moves, you don't need any drugs for that. All you have to do is start to pay attention to how this arises and how does stress arise. A feeling arises most often. It's a painful feeling. I don't like this. Critical mind is real big in this. I want it to be different than it is. Right after the feeling, I like it, I don't like it, mine. Right after that, the story about why you like or don't like that feeling, and your habitual tendency of really getting involved with trying to think you are feeling away. Now, on one of the charts that we handed out, the top one, as I remember, is the 5 aggregates. And it shows how those turn into the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Now, when your mindfulness becomes weak or distracted, then you look at the bottom line and you see all of these hindrances that are there. When your mindfulness gets weak, then a hindrance will arise. The hindrances are not the enemy to fight with, they are friends to welcome in. They are your best friends because they are showing you up close and personal where your attachments are. What is an attachment? Attachment is a belief that, I am this feeling, I am this thought. But I have talked to an awful lot of people. I say, well, you have this depression. Did you ask that feeling to come up? Did you say, well, I haven't been depressed for a few days. It's time to get depressed. No, nobody's crazy enough to do that. Well, maybe some people are. But it arises because there's an expectation of something being the way I want it to be. That's your opinions and your concepts and that sort of thing. When reality doesn't meet that expectation, a painful feeling arises, and the I don't like it mind grabs onto that, and you get more and more involved in all the concepts and opinions and ideas about why you want it to be other than the way it is. But the truth is, it arises because of past actions. What arises and is in the present moment is the truth. It's okay for that feeling to be there. It has to be okay because it is the truth. What to do with what arises in the present moment dictates what happens in the future. If you fight with the truth, if you resist with the truth, if you try to change the truth to match your ideas, you can look forward to suffering. Now, the more you think about a feeling, the bigger and more intense that feeling becomes, until just a regular feeling turns into a huge emergency. And I can't sleep and I can't eat. I am so depressed all the time. Why? Because you continually are resisting a feeling or trying to think you are feeling away and it doesn't work. Why it doesn't work? Because you can control whether the feeling arises or not. It arises because conditions are right for it to arise. What you're learning how to right now is to recognize the tension and tightness that arises right after the feeling. That tension and tightness is craving. That's the start of the false idea that this is me, this is mine, I don't like it, I want it to be different than it is. Then you have the clinging. And the clinging is the story, all of the ideas, all of the concepts, all of the opinions about why this feeling should be other than it is. So you keep trying to think the feeling. So feeling gets bigger and more intense, like it has lot of energy. And all of a sudden, you're trying to push it back down and it pushes back and gets stronger. So you have to finally wind up saying, well, I can't stand this. I am going to take some drugs. That's control it. And these drugs wind up dulling your mind and causing your body all kinds of different problems. It doesn't solve the problem. What's going to solve the problem? Practicing meditation the way the Buddha taught, practicing the meditation. As I told you the first night, the Buddha didn't just teach sitting in a rock, that's meditation. He said you have to practice your generosity. Anybody that's really into the depression, be friend to them. Take them to a hospital where somebody is dying of cancer and say, you think you got problems? What are you depressed about? Here's somebody that's got some real problems. Then you suggest what the job is to go visit this person in the hospital and make them smile and feel at home and he's practice your generosity. Practice it as much as you possibly can. Practice giving in your speech, saying things that make others people feel good in your actions, helping in whatever way is necessary, and with your thoughts. Now, you're practicing loving kindness meditation. You're doing that. You're practicing all of these things and keeping your precepts. Now, your meditation is starting to blossom. I mean, I just look at your faces. It makes me smile because one of the advantages of practicing loving kindness meditation is your face becomes very beautiful. Your face starts to get radiant and glowing, and that's what I am saying. It's great. You're practicing giving that loving kindness to your friend, giving it away. Now, when you go get home, call up your spiritual friend and ask them if they have noticed any difference in the last week or so. It's amazing. The whole point of the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta is try to teach us how to let go of the craving. how to improve our observation power and watch how mind's attention goes from one thing to another. That's what mindfulness is. Seeing attention go from one thing to another, relaxing, letting it be, smiling, coming back, staying with that as much as you possibly can, but you can't criticize yourself because you're not as good as you think you should be. Criticizing is no fair. You are as good as you are, and that's great. You have to let go of the expectations. You have to develop what Suzuki Roshi used to phrase as the beginner's mind. Do you know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now? I don't either. Roof could fall down. Airplane come right here and drop right on us. Who knows? What do we have to try to expect something to be in a particular way? The more we have expectation, the more suffering we cause ourselves when those expectations don't arise. Really, the reading of this Bhante's explanation is very interesting, where Bhante is giving emphasis on the important step of relax, and Bhante was basically emphasizing on how our mind's attention is moving from one thing to another. And when we are mindful, then we just relax and come back to our object of meditation. And the good thing about here was beginner's mind, where Bante quoted Suzuki Roshi's quote. And Bante was trying to explain that we don't know what will happen in the next 5 minutes. Like something wall may fall down, or some aeroplane come here and hit us, hit in front of us. And Bante was explaining about practicing of generosity, like particularly people with the depression, where Bante was emphasizing them to take to the hospital and see the cancer patients and tell them how these people really got to huge problems which they have. And practicing your generosity in the sense in terms of giving your speech and people feeling good and having a loving kindness. And Bante was talking about the advantages of loving kindness meditation, where we smile, where one's face will become radiant and glowing. And whenever when beginners meditation, they practice, they share loving kindness with spiritual friend. And Bante was telling to ask your spiritual friend how what the difference it was. Really, it was very interesting to read. And Bante was emphasizing about feelings, where feelings become, when we think about the feeling, it becomes bigger and bigger and more intense, and we depress sometimes because of that. And sometimes what happens is one cannot sleep or one cannot eat. Really, it was very good. Nanda madam, would you like to add?
Yes, I do wholeheartedly agree with you there. I can remember when I started Metta meditation, I had so much expectations. And when I was learning to relax the tightness and the tension, I was realizing that I wanted to control everything. And when I started relaxing the tension and the tightness, because I was trying to control everything, I was feeling very at ease and feeling openness, and was feeling letting go, was feeling less attached to my own thoughts and my own feelings and my own emotions, which helped me to relax my body and my head and my mind. As Bhante Vimalaramsi says, it is so easy now for me to be kind to myself and be gentle to myself and stop being so hard on myself, and also to pause and take a step back and just allow people to be as they are, and just able to listen to them and accept them for what they are. That's a tremendous behavioral change in me that happened simply by learning to relax that tightness and tension and smile and radiate metta to them. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Nanda Madam. We would like to stop here and we'll continue next week. And we would like to read sharing merit to share this share the merits to all beings. Yes, we can all read together for sharing merits. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all leave, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you all. Thank you for joining the session. Thank you. Wishing all happiness and peace. Thank you, Nanda Madam. Thank you, Paul sir. Thank you, Pai sir.